Okay, guys, fair warning. Today's video is going to be a hater ass video. So, if you don't like me complaining about Yu Gi Oh!, because I know some people do not like it, then you can clear out now. This is your warning. I'm going to be talking about one card combos and why I really and truly despise these cards, the card design behind them, how they have influenced games, deck building, counterplay, everything. I don't like them. So, if you do like them, then I guess maybe this isn't the video for you. But I think a lot of people feel this way, and I think it's really very much an issue that Yu Gi Oh! Has been leaning into more and more. So, what is the one card combo? Well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's when there's like a single card that can sort of start an entire sequence of plays, building card advantage, establishing an entire board off of just this one singular card being oftentimes normal summoned or even in some cases special summoned. So right now, an easy example of that would probably be your Snake Eye Ash, right? You can normal summon Snake Eye Ash. It can grab Poplar. Poplar summons itself. It can search for other cards like Original Sinful Spoils or Divine Temple, and then like Ash can use its effect and like send cards away, and then get Flamberg, and everything just kind of goes crazy, right? And that all can start from a single Snake Eye Ash. And as a result of that, it means that that combo can technically start if you have something like, say, Bonfire as well, which I'll get into more of like where the search spells kind of influence this a bit later. But basically, yeah, Snake Eye Ash is a one card combo. Everybody kind of knows about this. Also, there are like Snake Eyes is not the only example, right? There's Tenpai Paedra, there's Low from the Voiceless Voice. I play that deck myself, and I think that that card's absolutely insane. It's just like, oh, this thing gets summoned, it places a card, dodging Ash conveniently. We've talked about that before. And then like the card, you get, your continuous speller trap, it searches for another thing, and then it sends, and you like ritual summon it. It's just like all of it started because you successfully resolved like Low, one card, right? Just one single card builds the board for you. And it's technically been this way for a while in Yu-Gi-Oh! Sometimes it's like kind of happy accidents. That's where I think of maybe your Jet Synchrons back in like 2020. I remember in like Adamantipator Eldritch format, Jet Synchron could be its own one card combo. Or there was like a period of time where like a single normal summon Sangan could actually lead to an entire Scythe lock because you linked it into Almaraz and you search for like Crusadia Arborea and a bunch of crazy stuff ensues. Which, man, there's a whole conversation really to be had about Link 1 monsters, but we'll save it. The point is, though, it's these cards that kind of just do all of the work for you on successful normal summon and even sometimes successful special summon, like in the case of Mathmech Circular, which literally like sends a Mathmech straight from your deck as a cost to special summon itself, and then like it just kind of goes from there. I think these one card combos are very annoying because to me, it's another one of those examples of Yu-Gi-Oh's really bad power creep problem. And it's like taken to almost its just extremes. So some of the examples I was mentioning were like accidents, but it feels like nowadays Konami is actually designing decks with one card combos in mind. Like I know that technically a lot of decks have had search cards in the past, right? Like I think of maybe a Madolche Mageline or just something like that. Like okay, it's when it's summoned, you get to like add a card or a monster of that archetype to your hand. But it feels like in recent years, that's like not really enough. Nowadays, it's kind of like it's not just that it like adds a kind of just a mysterious card to your hand and you kind of decide what to do from there. There's a very clear line of play and like a progression that leads to building an entire board, like in the Snake Eye example. Or even like let's say Tearlament's Rhino Heart, right? It's summoned, it sends a tear, the tear fuses, you make Kit Kalos, like rinse repeat. And so for me, I think that these make Yu-Gi-Oh! So boring and annoying to play. It's kind of, in my opinion, what's led to the rise in like hyper hand trap culture. I don't know if there's a word for it, but the increase in the amount of like hand traps people have to play because it becomes so important to stop these cards, right? Like if you do not have an Imperm or you do not have a Veiler or an Ash Blossom or something to like freeze these one card play starters, then literally a whole board is made. And can I just point out too that it's kind of weird that we call them one card combos? Like it's almost a bit of a misnomer because technically a combo means like combination, like it's a shortened form of combination. So really that means like two. And so like if it's a single card, maybe we need to have a new name for it. Not related, but the point is that I think that these single cards doing this much is just crazy. It means that comebacks can happen out of nowhere, and maybe you could view that as like fun, like it's kind of unpredictable because someone top decked, a late game Rhino Heart or Snake Eye Ash and like made a huge comeback. But truthfully, it just makes going first feel even more polarizing. And it also makes those search spells, like any deck that has like a Rhoda or, Bonfire is probably the popular example, but a lot of different decks have sort of a Rhoda equivalent card. It makes those cards feel even more obnoxious because it's like, man, a single card can lead to the thing that leads to the combo. So now, like, you've got this hyper consistency aspect to it. Where if truly Snake Eye Ash was a one card combo, but there was no other way to access it, right? Like it wasn't a matter of using, original Sinful Spoils and like Bonfire and, 1 for 1 or something like that. You, that would be, it'd be one thing. It would mean that it's certainly like a Saki card. Like if you open with this, it's pretty crazy. But whenever you can search for the one card starter, then it's like, well, technically now you have like 6 1 card starters or maybe even 9 1 card starters. I think that I prefer when cards are at least like there's like 2 card combos, actual combinations. It's gonna sound so crazy saying this, but I even have started to miss decks like say Drytron, where like they still at least need another like ritual monster in the hand or something to reveal for an effect or something to tribute in order to like get them out onto the field. It's not much because usually that still kind of leads to about the same place, but at least like in those cases, you kind of have to have something. In many cases these days, like it's maybe there's a discard involved, but maybe there's like not even that much. I mean, I remember when like Magician Souls first came out and people were like, oh man, this is kind of crazy because like it sends the monster as a cost. And so like that was like a whole thing. I don't like what 1 card combos do because like I said, it makes the hand trap situation feel a lot more polarizing. You got to run, like 12 hand traps or something like which we've seen players doing right now as a form of counterplay. But also, it means that older decks that just don't have those 1 card starters, like where it's like a single card does everything, get pushed further back. Like they get power crept even more. We already know that power creep it's a big thing, it's an issue, it's trouble. But like literally it's kind of the extreme version of this where there are some decks that just have to work a lot harder to kind of get off the ground. Maybe they have to have 2 specific cards or something like that. But no, the new decks that have the cards, I just to me it kind of makes Yu-Gi-Oh feel boring and also a little bit homogenous, right? Like when these cards are when every deck's just got like a super high value normal summon that literally plays for them, then like it feels like there's less to do, right? Like there's nothing really going on. Like there's nothing differentiating these decks. I remember when Blackwing Shura had to like run over a monster back in the day to get like a Blackwing from deck, or like your Gladiator Beast had to survive the battle phase, right? Just different things like that. Or maybe you had to still summon 2 Burning Abyss monsters and like make Dante and defense, and like that was kind of a thing. I don't know. I think that it gets more and more extreme because Konami kind of has no choice. Like if a new deck wants to be good and be viable and be competitive, then it's got to have a 1 card starter, and then it also means that every other thing in your hand now becomes an extender. And I've always had mixed thoughts on the idea of the extender because extenders like it's kind of a vague term, but I mean, I guess it's like if your 1 card starter gets negated, then sometimes your extender can allow you to kind of keep playing anyway. But I think when like the 1 card can get you that much value, then the extender just really pushes it over the edge. I don't know. Maybe this is I'm just like I said, just being a hater, and this is like a cool thing with modern Yu-Gi-Oh. Like technically, no deck's gonna say no to the idea of having a card that kind of does everything for you, but it's just dull when like every deck has that thing, and then it just like I don't know, they all play the same way, and then they like necessitate even more leaning into hand traps and so I don't know. What's the solution then? I've complained enough. What should Konami do? Well, I guess obviously, like I said, I would prefer if decks just like had 2 card plays. We could get back to cards that need to reveal something else in hand and they can like special summon or, tie in some meaningful cost or discard to a lot of these effects. I'm not talking Mathmech Circular where you're sending things from the deck. That's stupid. I'm saying like, actually having some sort of a cost or something, or maybe it just comes down to at least like tying in later restrictions, like, oh, you can only summon fire monsters in the turn, which is crazy. Snake Eyes don't really have any restrictions like that. Surprise, surprise. Neither do many of the things that have come out in the last few years. God, we've gone through a lot of tier 0 formats. It's just crazy. That's a whole video in and of itself. Yeah, but I guess I don't know. It feels whiplashy too. Like just like when every new deck just got the 1 card thing, and it means like going first is strong. And I'm repeating points here. The point is, I don't like these cards. I really hope Konami steps away from this design philosophy. I just find the cards are dull and boring and they don't really do it for me. I think that there's just not much interaction and decision making when it comes to stuff like this. So I really hope that, moving forward with card design, they set this aside and maybe find some ways to balance decks a little bit better on their own. I know it's going to be tough because it's like, well, you got to kind of match whatever the current expectation by players is, but it would be really nice to have fewer of them. So yeah, you guys can let me know how you feel about these one card combos. I don't like them, but maybe someone does. If you have some argument for why they're cool and make Yu-Gi-Oh! Way loads better, you can tell me in the comments. Cool, all right, that's going to be it. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'll be reading the comments and stuff as well. Fast turn.